So there's how Group B looks. Spain sitting pretty at the moment, yeah, and that was a pretty comprehensive win for them as well. Now, as Des says there, what the ultimate aim and ambition for them is to get back to the Olympia Stadion in Berlin for the final. And who's to say they won't after that performance? Looking at Luka Modric there going off after 65 minutes, and Kovacic as well. It's clear, I think, that the Croatians at that point had more or less decided that their game was run for now, and it's more important that they do better in the next game against Albania, and they'll be looking at that now. But I don't think we expected it to be like this, did we?
Not for me, no. I thought it was going to be a lot closer. But again, you know, we speak about this young Spanish team. Yeah, they've got a few experienced players mixed in. Obviously, Rodri's a key part of that. You see in the picture, but they've got some exciting young players, and you think, is a big tournament, I guess, too soon for these players? And after today's performance, then no. You know, 3-0 half-time. They controlled the second half. Croatia sort of huffed and puffed, but they never really were in too much danger, if I'm being brutally honest, Tony. And you know, Spain deserved the victory. And yeah, now other nations, maybe like myself, thought that they might struggle in this tournament, but other nations and other managers in this tournament thinking, these guys, these could be the real deal. You just don't know. I know it's only one game, and I think the guys mentioned on commentary, is it because Spain were so good today, or were Croatia, you know, did it just catch up? I mentioned that before the game, you know, is this Croatian team getting too old or whatever? Maybe it just got ahead of them today. They looked a bit leggy at times, perhaps, but so it's hard to judge on that one game, are Spain that good, or, as I say, Croatia maybe superior today?
De La Fuente, the manager, he's been with them for such a long time now, and has been very happy to give youth its fling as well as mix it up with the experienced players. It's paying off. It is, you're right, it's a different type of Spain.
Yeah, and I think there were concerns about him going in as the senior manager because he had never really had that much elite level experience in terms of managing senior players either at international level or at club level. But he knows a lot of these players since they were under 19, and he's very clear in the way he wants to play. He's very close to Spain's identity in that playing style. But he also has, you know, formed a clear philosophy in that he wants them to maintain their identity but be really versatile and have different ways to play. And, you know, and that's why I think, you know, that was so impressive today, because whether Croatia are getting on in their years, we know they are, but they're still no mugs. I mean, these two teams drew 0-0 in the Nations League final last year, and Spain won it on penalties, and Croatia have still been, you know, a really comprehensive team throughout the qualifying campaigns. So, you know, Croatia are no mugs, but I think what Spain have done is they're so hard to predict now, because you don't know what way they're going to play, and you've so many things to think about in terms of how you have to try and stop them. And one of the things that really impressed me today was, particularly in the second half, they go in 3-0 up, and Croatia had that ping pong ball in the box moment, and Spain's players were throwing their bodies on the line like it was a 0-0 or a 1-0. And I thought they were really, really good out of possession today. They were so aggressive in getting forward, getting the press on, counter-pressing, recovering hard, tracking, doing all the dirty work as well. And that's the side of the game that impressed me most.
Do you think taking off Modric at that time and Kovacic was like a tennis player going, well, I'll give up that set and I'll
that way.
Redouble my efforts for the next set?
It felt that way, because there was a shot panned around to the Croatian fans as well, and they were like, that's kind of it. Like, he's obviously thinking about the next game. And I suppose in tournament football, you have to, these guys are getting on it, but of course Modric, we can't speak highly enough. We spoke about him before the game. Wasn't his best game tonight, but at the same time, the manager still wants to protect him, because he looked at this game's gone, 3-0. I think there's no way back, he felt at that stage. So get him off, get him rested, because the next game's the most important one.
Yes, Spain 3, Croatia 0 from Berlin, from the Olympic Stadium in Berlin. As it was at half-time. By the way, there's a stat here. There's only been 4 teams that have led by 3 or more goals at half-time in the entire history of the Euros. So it was France against Belgium all the way back to 1984, France against Iceland in 2016. And then 2 games from this tournament already, Germany-Scotland last night and Spain-Croatia today. So what does that tell us about, you know, this particular tournament? Do we hope we're going to get loads and loads of goals, players in peak condition, pitches in fine condition? Yeah,
I think what we probably saw at the World Cup was teams were so well structured and well organised and really difficult to break down, and that was kind of the story of the tournament. And whereas now teams look to, normally it's cyclical, whatever one trend is, the next trend comes as the solution to that one. So you can see that teams are maybe, much better wingers, going back to a little bit more of a traditional number 9, players taking players on 1v1, and that's the way to disturb a team's structures, to isolate defenders. And we've seen that from the best team so far. I mean, we're only 2 days in. Hopefully it's a trend that continues, because we do love to see goals. But yeah, I think it looks really exciting now for what's potentially to come.
Well, the 3 goals happened in the first half, and there was plenty of action in the second half. Don't worry, we'll show you that as well. But the big moment, I think, of controversy in the second half was the penalty. And we mentioned in an earlier game that VAR was working really well so far in this competition, and then we get this game and VAR becomes an issue. And is it suddenly a reason that the referee is Stuart Atwell is the VAR, the referee Michael Oliver, and this took an awful long time to figure out? Or is it just complicated?
It is complicated. First, I don't think it's a penalty, actually, would you believe. There is a coming together with Rodri, but I think that he's looked for it. He's gone down, he's kicked the ground now. We only understand there's Perisic in the top of the screen here. We think it's encroachment. But then I think the law is encroachment, you have to do a retake. So I'm not 100% sure how Michael Oliver's come to this decision, because normally pops up on the bottom of the screen, referee checking encroachment, referee checking offside, VAR checking something. So I know probably on social media it'll be trending that first time the Premier League referees involved, a bit like the Premier League in England, they keep messing up VAR. It hasn't happened in this tournament so far, so I don't know the right reason. As I say, I don't know totally know the exact laws of the game, but for me, there's a few things wrong there, Tony.
The outcome of a penalty kick should be encroachment by an attacking player. The penalty is retaken, and that wasn't that's not what happened there.
Yeah, so usually the reason I'm thinking, and this is just trying to logically rationalise what's happened here, is that if you encroach and you're an attacking player and your team scores, then you are effectively gaining an advantage. Or if there's a rebound to be had, then you gain an advantage. So in this situation, because the penalty is saved, Perisic obviously squares the ball across. He's one of, I think, 2 players that actually does encroach. And that's why I think they've disallowed it. Because the penalty is saved, the encroachment, technically, there's no advantage from the encroachment. But because Perisic is the player that squares the ball and they score from the rebound, Petkovic scores, then I think that's why they've regained the advantage. Listen, I'm not 100% certain. It's just logically that's how I'm trying to rationalise that decision.
I guess as well it won't be as controversial as if the game was at 0-0 at that point, and so we'll move on. But let's talk about Croatia's chances then, because they'll be thinking about the next game. They'll want to try and look at the positives from today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you look here, like, we know that Croatia are a team that can play. Kovacic does really well, gets the ball back, and I think it's Stanisic that just misses at the far post. And with Spain, they always had numbers around, and they were so eyes on the ball, getting up, contesting everything. And Simon does really, really well there just to get fingertips and scoop it away from Kramaric's head. But, for those 2 chances and the penalty, to be fair, Croatia didn't really create much more. And I thought Spain, as I said earlier, were really, really good out of possession.
There's one kid player, maybe we shouldn't disrespect him, but he's 16 years, 338 days. And he's playing like a veteran, isn't he?
Yeah, for me, I've wrote down here star man or star boy, or I don't know, star kid. He was absolutely brilliant. 16 years of age. We done a piece before the game, Tony, didn't we? We looked at him, and now can he step onto the big stages? And obviously Barcelona's a big stage as well, but I mean for his country and really step up to the plate. And everything good today, I felt, came from Yamal. He was absolutely brilliant. Lisa mentions about 1v1 situations, getting at people, creating chances. There's 3 players around him there, so that creates space somewhere else for somebody else, because he attracts players around him. And this is one of the goals, obviously, with the Ruiz coming on the edge of the box. We talked about half time. It's a brilliant goal as well, but Yamal's an important part of that as well. And again,
his crossing is exceptional, isn't it?
He is. He's brilliant. I mean, this is the Carvajal goal. It's a phenomenal ball into the box. Look at that, like someone who really on top of his game. And this is a brilliant save, actually, in the end from Lavkovic. He's unlucky not to score, but again, he's just super confident, like super relaxed on the ball. Look at this. I don't know. I suppose when you're young, Tony, like that, there's no fear of the bigger pictures, and this is such a major tournament. I'm just playing with the freedom. I'm playing on a very good team as well, but he's really excited me. And we looked at that. I went back to the keeper, and Simon's just launched up the pitch. But the strength for a 16-year-old to hold off Guardiola and then get at him. Look again, he's attracting all these players around him. And then again, just picks the right pass inside the box again. This guy's a really exciting talent. And again, like we spoke about before, could he be the young player of the tournament? I know it's only one game, but look at that, the pace and the power. He looks beyond 16.
Lisa, when Evan Ferguson broke through first at Bohemian, sure, he was like 15 years of age, and there was a lot of talk then about, I suppose, the duty of care of coaches in the club to a young person, a young man, a boy, if you like.
Yeah, and you do have that responsibility to a young player, and particularly when, they're so young, and the pressure, and when you build them up and they start to, perform really well, they've enough to be dealing with, and it's hard for experienced players sometimes to deal with that pressure. So, but sometimes younger players are a little bit immune to it because they just don't have that fear at the very start of their career. And it's only when the analysis comes and, the pressure starts to come, and then you get a patch where you're not firing on all cylinders and your confidence goes, and it's trying to regain your confidence. So there are stages of a player's development, and he's obviously in that really early stage.
Well, some people, some young boys and girls of 16 years and 338 days are completely different in their maturity to others.
Yeah,
and he doesn't he need to be protected?
Of course, but you look at the way he plays there, the senior players around him on the pitch will protect him when he's on the pitch as much as they can. Managers will have to manage his minutes and his recovery, and obviously his schoolwork. He has to do his schoolwork while he's in tournament. But what I really like about him is maturity in the game. Like we were talking about it off air, the decision making. Like when he gets isolated and there's 3 or 4 players around him, he has the intelligence to hold up the ball and give time for other players to get up around him and support him. He's beyond his years. Like he just has an incredible mindset, an incredible game awareness, and he has the physicality, as Shay said, the physicality and the technique to just. And sometimes you have to let them go as well. You have to let them go and play. I'm surprised a little that they left him on so long. You thought they might have brought some of the other forwards on and given him a little bit of a break, but he looked like he had a field day out there today.
Spain, more versatile, more different types of goals, as you've been saying, Lisa. So they're definitely contenders.
Well, if they can keep their form up, like you think about back to the World Cup, they won their opening game 7-1 against Costa Rica, and then they got knocked out in the knockout stages by Morocco because they couldn't break them down because they were such a well-structured defensive team. But that's what I think the learnings we've seen from Spain from that World Cup experience is they've learned they have to be able to break down really defensive teams, and that's the dimension that De La Fuente has brought to the team.
Let's look at the goals they've scored today.
Yeah, so if you look at the first one, the Morata goal, and again, this is one that comes from, you go back to De La Fuente, he prefers a more traditional number 9 than a false 9, and it's a sublime through ball there from Fabian Ruiz, literally splits the defence, and then he just guides it past the goalkeeper. It's a really beautiful goal, and then Fabian Ruiz steps up and he gets a stunning goal himself here. We've already talked about Yamal and his influence in the build-up, but this is really a superb goal. And just this is what you talk about, the technical quality. You can have all the tactical ideas in the world, but you need players who actually have the technical ability to do it. And again, this is Spain mixing it up. Beautiful ball in by Yamal, and this time Dani Carvajal slips in and gets a toe to it, and again showing the diversity in the 3 goals. One is a bit more direct, straights it down through the middle. The second one a bit more pretty, more creative, more construct in the build-up, and then a goal from a set piece, and they actually played that one as a short corner. So that's what I really like about them, and it's going to be really interesting now to see can they continue that momentum throughout the tournament, and because they're so much fun and they're so interesting to watch.
There is one negative was Morata going off injured. A lot of their team is built around him as their main striker. He's got 36 goals and 74 internationals, so he's got the knack of scoring at this international level, and you feel that the Spanish team is set up to play to his strengths. And you can see straight away in the second half, Tony, he's given that one. He's obviously felt something. I don't know if it's muscular or whatever, but obviously we know the games come really quick, and in 5 days is an hour game, whatever it is. So that'll be the only sort of downside to this great result for Spain tonight.
Briefly, the champions, the European current champions, Italy, are on shortly against Albania. Will they be contenders again?
Well, I'm not so sure. Like, you know, you always think that the defending champions will be contenders, but they didn't even qualify for the World Cup. Like, so they literally went from such a high to such a low. I think Italy are still a team in transition, not really sure what to expect from them in this tournament. I think, you know, their game probably against Spain will show us a little bit more about what maybe we can expect from Italy, but at the moment I'm not sure.
And Italy deep in a tournament is a good thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they will be strong. I mean, you're right. We don't know what to expect from Italy. We really don't. Obviously, a new manager from the last tournament as well, from the last Euros, of course. So we don't know. I mean, Albania everyone would look at that from the outside and go, they're going to be the whipping boys of the group, because the three other nations are so strong. But Italy normally have a really strong Euros for sure.
Well, today Switzerland 3, Hungary 1, Spain 3, Croatia 0.